Today we're going to do our notes over amendments 11 through 27. Okay? So find your notes at the bottom of the notes that we did before, like 100 years ago, last time I saw you. We did amendments 1 through 10 at the top, the Bill of Rights at the top. Amendment 11 through 27 is at the bottom. Did you find it?
Wait, what?
Amendments, that page right there. Yep. Okay. My friends who are joining us later, it looks like this. We are going to be filling in this bottom part right here, where it starts with 11 and it goes down onto the next page. Okay. It's in your binder. You should already have it. We all have it? I need to organize everybody's binders.
Yes. No,
Because I put all the papers in there. These are the notes right here.
I don't think I got it.
There you go.
These are the notes right here. Check in the ring part. I'm finding people, they've already hole punched them and put them in the,
But mine don't say like all of it, but
like here, this is your Bill of Rights. And of course, I have no extras. Wait, hold on. Shut the front door. Look what I found. Okay. Here you go. Jalen, did you find yours?
no.
Here, you can have this one. Ignore my writing on there. Okay. Amendment 11. This is at the bottom part of your paper. Amendment 11. This is sovereign immunity. That's a fancy way of saying that it makes states immune from lawsuits from out-of-state citizens and foreigners not living in with the state borders. So I, Mrs. Staples, live in Illinois. I cannot go and sue Colorado just for giggles. Okay? It also protects states from foreigners not living within the border. So somebody from Mexico can't just decide to sue the state of Illinois. They have to live here. Okay? So, sovereign immunity. Amendment 12. This states that the Electoral College officially elects the President of the United States. POTUS is a way to say President of the United States. It's an abbreviation. So the Electoral College elects the President and the Vice President. Electoral College elects the President and the Vice President. We have this awful glare.
Oh, okay, huh.
For people at home are going to get a glare in on. Okay, Amendment 12, the Electoral College officially elects the President and the Vice President. That, hint, hint, is definitely on your Constitution test. I just read the test to a group last hour, and it is on there. We good? Okay, amendments 13, 14, and 15, these were written as rights for African Americans, okay? So, again, that might be a question. Which amendments gave rights to those following the Civil War? 13, 14, 15. So, Amendment 13 abolishes or ends slavery. Amendment 14 defines citizenship. This considered African Americans to be natural citizens. And 15, it prohibits a citizen's right to vote based on ethnic background or previous servitude. So, after Amendment 15 was passed, African American men could vote. African American women and white women could not vote at this time. Only white men and African American men could vote after the 15th Amendment. Let's see if I can find the exact wording of that question, so people at home can hear it over and over. All right, it says, which three amendments immediately followed the Civil War? And you would say Amendment 13, 14, 15. So which amendment immediately followed the Civil War? 13, 14, 15. Those are going to be important amendments to know. Are we good? Amendments 16 through 18. Amendment 16 allowed the government to collect income tax. So when I get paid, every paycheck, the government takes out some money to pay for different programs like roads, Medicare, Medicaid, government assistance programs like LINK, things like that. All that is paid for out of our taxes. It comes out of your paycheck. No, Amendment 16 allows the government to do that. Amendment 17, this is the election of U.S. senators, is done by popular vote. So I go to the polls and I vote for Senator so-and-so. Then that's one vote in Senator so-and-so's bucket. Okay? And the senator who gets the most votes is the senator. Not like the president, where the president's elected by the Electoral College. In Amendment 18, this was the prohibition of alcohol. It made alcohol illegal to manufacture, sell, or purchase. Those of you that have already had U.S. history will know that this led to things like speakeasies or illegal bars. Because it wasn't illegal to drink it, it was just illegal to make it, buy it, or sell it. And then these are people pouring out alcohol. We good?
Yep.
Amendment 19. Ladies, this is a very, 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 very important amendment. Women got the right to vote. And it was passed in 1920. Women have not even had 100 years of rights to vote.
I forgot that one lady you were talking about on there who made them vote, get the right to vote. What's her name?
When we watched Iron Jawed
Yeah.
Maidens, I forget what her name is. But this is them. This is the real them. Those who've had U.S. history, the Iron Jawed Maidens, this is the real ladies. Suffrage is a fancy way of saying vote. So women got the right to vote on Amendment 19 in 1920. Amendments 20 through 23. The first day of a congressman's term is January 3rd. The first day of a president's term is January 20th. Number 21 repealed the 18th Amendment, making alcohol legal for adults. Easy way to remember this one. How old do you have to be to drink alcohol?
21.
21. What amendment repealed prohibition? 21. Okay? So the alcohol amendment is 21 because you have to be 21 years old to drink alcohol. Number 22 limits the president's term to 2 terms. And I want you to write something to the side of it. The president that caused this amendment to be passed was FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Because on the Constitution test, it might say what president caused there to be a term limit, and that would be FDR. Okay, presidents are only allowed to run for 2 terms. The only way around that is, let's say the president in office dies and the vice president takes over and finishes out their term. As long as it's 2 years or less, then that president, the new president, could run for 2 more terms. President's allowed to be president for a maximum of 10 years. Now, let's say the president who was in office died less than a year into term, and the VP took over, and the VP served more than 2 years, then he or she would not be able to run for 2 more terms. They'd only be able to run for 1 more term. And then Amendment 23, this provided representation for Washington, D.C. in the Electoral College. Washington, D.C. is not like a city in a state. It's its own entity. It's not within a state. It's technically its own thing. It's not a state. It's just its own thing. Okay? Even on the Miss America pageant, Washington, D.C. has its own Miss America candidate. Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody write. Okay.
Wait.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Amendments 24 through 27. Number 24 prohibits the removal of a person's right to vote because of not paying taxes. So even if you have 0 taxes withheld out of your paycheck, and you go and you file you don't file your taxes or you don't pay your tax bill, they cannot take your right to vote away from you. Number 25 defines presidential succession. So let's say the president passes away. Who takes over for him? The vice president. Let's say, unfortunately, the president and the vice president both die at the same time. Who takes over for them? The Speaker of the House. So he's the third in line. So then if the Speaker of the House dies, then the Senate Majority Leader would take over. Okay, and then if he dies, like, you can go online and you can research presidential succession, and it gives you all the way down to President Melissa Staples. I can't be president, I'm not 35 yet, almost. Okay, so it'll give you presidential succession. Amendment 25 defines that. Number 26, this was when the voting age was dropped to 18. Okay, this was right around the time of the Vietnam War. So men who were fighting in the war who were 18 years old, at the time you had to be 21 to vote. Okay, so they argued, I'm old enough to die for my country, but I'm not old enough to vote for the leaders of my country. So, that door's open now. So, the voting age was moved to 18. And then Amendment 27, the last one, this changed congressional payments, or congressional payment changes will not take effect until the next election of representatives. So let's say the current people who are in Congress vote to increase their pay. It does not take place until after the next election. Okay, so they can't get in there and say, I want to make $1 million. Okay, well, maybe if it passes, then you may not get elected into Congress again. Okay? Do you have any questions about amendments 11 through 27?
I did.
Yeah.
How come women couldn't vote?
How come women couldn't vote? They were seen as like lesser. They didn't think
Important.
women could handle it. They were seen as like lesser than men a lot of the times. Yeah, women had to fight for their rights. In U.S. history, I show this movie called Iron Jawed Maidens, and it was women, all about women's suffrage, women's right to vote, and how much they fought for the right, and all these horrible, horrible things that they went through just to get their voice out there to get that right to vote. So that's why it kind of like makes me upset when people don't go vote, because I mean, these women risk their lives for the right to vote. So, I mean, that's your civic duty. One of the things we'll learn in civics is your civic duties, your responsibilities as a citizen. And one of them, a very, very important one, is the right to vote. So we'll talk more about that. Okay, after lunch, we're going to review the amendments again. And then tomorrow, you are having a quiz over the 27 amendments. Okay? It won't be that long. Okay? Tomorrow I will not be here in the afternoon. I might be here for part of your class, because tomorrow's classes are just a little bit shorter. Oh, not this class though. I'll be here for a little bit tomorrow's class. I got a meeting in Mount Zion tomorrow, so I'll be gone tomorrow afternoon. But no, after lunch we'll review the 27 amendments.